Explorers, welcome back to the Starfield Lorecast. It is 2024. We took off last week because it was crazy with all the holidays and getting everything scheduled, but we are back. This is the first episode of the new year. I'm your host, Tom. I'm here with Dave Chaffins, and we're going to have some patrons with us. Dave, welcome back to the show, man. How's it going?
It's good to be here, Thomas. I feel like that we've been doing this for a while now, so I can be more formal with you. We can start talking about this in a real art form.
Yeah, you and my mom are the only ones who call me that.
Yes, and I would like to call Turbo Toboggan maybe like a Turbo Hat or Sled, depending on where you're from. The more formalized name, if you get my drift.
I get you. Toboggan. Being each of those things. Yeah.
Drift.
Maybe. I have a feeling, Turbo, welcome back to the show, buddy. Is a toboggan? What is a toboggan in your vernacular?
Sled. I didn't know there was a hat.
Yeah. It looks like you're getting a little choppy here, but we heard sled. Didn't know that there's a hat. It could be either. So you are the sled variety.
Yeah.
You are not a turbo hat.
You're a sled.
I'm just saying that I'm just thinking of with a sled with a like a Miss Butler scene or a YouTube scene where someone just put like one of those weird engines that you slowly turns red, just light one of those on fire and shoot down a hill.
You're a sled on fire. That's amazing. That's a wonderful way to ring in the new year. By the way, we also have Nova joining us as well. Nova's here. Nova, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
I am doing good. Hopefully I'm not too late to the party.
No, you're good. We're just kicking it off. And we've got four of us to talk about today's topic, which is, now that we are in 2024, we're moving into a new year. I want us to look ahead. I want us to think about, by this time next year, by the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025, what things do we want for Starfield? What things do we want different, changed, added in, fixed? Where do we want the state of the game to be at the beginning of 2025? So that's today's topic, and we're going to go over some different ideas. I have some thoughts that I did a little bit of research on this, looking at some of the other Bethesda games and going, oh, maybe this, maybe that. But I want to hear your thoughts as well. So who would like to kick us off? Actually, Nova, I know you just jumped right in, but I know that you think deeply about these things. Do you have something just off the top of your head that's something you would absolutely want changed or added to the game this year? I'm putting you on the spot right away. Yeah, but I know you can take it.
He just called me. I was like, "Hey, he's smart. Talk to him." I guess it would have to be maybe an Operation Anchorage style of DLC that throws you back into the Colony War. I think it was, or like what was the major war between the EC and the or the UC, I mean, and this Free Star Collective. What was that major war?
That was like Colony War.
Okay,
there's a few people call the Colony War. There's like two different wars that they call the Colony War, but they call them the same thing, but they happened years apart.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm talking about the later one with the Terramorphs and the mechs. That's what I'm talking about, because I know everyone really wants to see all that stuff, and I think it'd be a really cool kind of, it's a simulation part. So I guess you have to go with the Vanguard or something like that as part of your introduction to the Vanguard, part of your or maybe it's like a special ops version of it. And so like they're preparing you for, okay, in the Vanguard, this is what you're going to do. If we have another war, they're probably going to bring back the mechs. They're probably going to break the treaty, because just like in World War II, if you didn't know, there was major naval treaties right before World War II that limited the size of what navies could be and what you could build in the Navy. But as soon as the war broke out, all that went off the table. And so I would assume it kind of be the same thing, where the UC and the Free Star Collective would kind of just tear the treaties up and say, okay, go right back to the research that we stopped a couple dozen years ago. And we're going to start exactly, or we're going to pick up exactly where we left off, or maybe they had secret programs in the background. And so in order to prepare their Vanguard, or maybe the Free Star Collective version of it, because I would assume they would have the kind of similar programs where it is not limited to one faction. Then it just brings you back to a major battle during that war, just like Operation Anchorage from Fallout.
Would it be like when you go into that quest line and you do the piloting simulation? Would it be something like that, where you go in like a pod, exactly, and then all of a sudden, like, whoop, you like the screen changes, poof, and then you are like in a battlefield, and you've got your commander there barking orders at you, and in the distance you see like exploding mechs and, you know, terramorphs or whatever's going on in that one engagement. And he's like, all right, soldier, get out there, give him hell. And you're like, all right, yes, sir. And then like you just run out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, and that's right with Vanguard, because you already have that part with that faction, or with that part of the faction. So you already have that already built into the game. So it'd be very easy just to expand upon it. And so it's kind of, you know, already assets that exist right there. And so might as well just say, okay, well, we're gonna like it may be completely accurate, or maybe just like the museum, like UCSized.
It's their version of the events that happened.
Or it's like, we wish it went like this, but actuality that we got curb stomped.
Yeah, I think it's a criminal sin, and I think Bethesda committed the greatest crime ever is putting a mech in a game that you can't enter.
Yeah,
that's absolutely, that's a crime. And really, instead of, you know, holding Ve Victus in some sort of like tribal situation where we're all like holding out our torches and voting him off the island to his little prison, we should be holding Bethesda accountable and saying, I want my mechs. I want them now.
Dave, here's the best part about it. Maybe the mech is your winterized T-51.
That's a good thought.
So when you complete the addition or the add-on, you get access to a mech build now.
Oh,
I would like that, because then it's like, hey, not only am I a giant pirate and a total D-bag, I'm also just like casually committing galactic, like,
you're breaking treaties. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
So in order for this to happen, they've got creatures. They've got animals and creatures. They have AI in the game that can have all the creatures fight specific targets or whatever. That part wouldn't take a whole lot of development as far as I can tell. But the mech side of it is definitely something that would take a considerable amount of actual planning and design, and I would assume that they can port over some of the stuff from like Fallout 4 and 76 of getting in power armor and maybe scale it up a little bit. Like, how do you see this working?
I see like, I don't know. Like, I quite literally just came up with this on the spot because I didn't look up what we were talking about today. Mm-hmm. So I literally sat down and expected to hear Turbo Toboggan talk about, okay, that's what we're talking about. And Tom just pushed me onto the stage. So he
started last time, so I thought I'd let you give it a shot.
Yeah. So I guess if I really had to think about it, I guess it would be kind of like just piling a normal ship, but instead of it flying through the air, it would be just on the ground, and so you would have to traverse terrain in a special fashion. Or maybe it wouldn't just be specifically that. It could also be the introduction of wheeled vehicles too, or tracked vehicles as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could pull together any other kinds of vehicles that they would have in the conflict. And if they're adding that to the game, then why not add a variety and just have them all there, and then expand that out into, okay, now you can build your base, you can build your spaceship, but you can also customize and build vehicles. And then maybe that's something that works itself into the rest of the game too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that could be cool. Turbo, do you have any thoughts on this?
Oh, he's a mech. Oh my God.
his image on the screen.
Freedom.
Do you think this would be cool? What do you think?
I was trying to picture what the mechs look like, but I don't think I've seen.
There's one in the museum that's like a statue of it, I believe.
Yeah, they look kind of like Ridley Scott-y, like Alien or Avatar.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember if they had a closed cockpit or not. Because I thought, in my head, all I kept picturing was from
Titanfall.
Not from Titanfall. It was more, I kept picturing the ones from not Ghost in the Shell. Solid Snake. What's the game with that guy in it? Oh God, why am I drawing a blank?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why is this not Solid Snake? That is Snake game.
Metal Gear.
That's the name of that.
Metal Gear.
Wow. Thank you, Rob the Princess in chat. So the mechs, there are locations where you see like the broken down mechs and they're burned out. Some of them are really big. They're more than just
but that's what I was thinking.
A man
they're
suit.
really, really big. So I didn't know what size ones we were talking about, because like I know we have the Terramorphs coming back because of the mission. I still haven't finished that one all the way, but that's what I was just thinking. Like, how big are the mechs we talking about? Or are we just talking about power suit sized mechs?
I mean, they're large. Like the ones you see in the game are like 30, 40 feet tall. Like they're.
I honestly assume it would be more like a personal mech, like maybe 15 to 20 feet tall would be what you could build, just because space limitations. Honestly, you can only have it so large and still be able to actually do missions with it.
Well, if you only use that in outdoor locations, like a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Like you get out of it and you get back in it, and then you park it outside the city and then walk in the city, that kind of thing. I could imagine that would be crazy.
But there's parts of the world where it's only like maybe like a 10, 20 foot gap that you have to go through. And so they don't want to be limited. They don't want you to have a Empire State Building size thing where you have to park it here forever, I guess, and maybe pick it up when I leave.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. They're very large. I would imagine
I kind of like the idea though of like there's just the planet of mechs, and here you get to live out your mech fantasies, and then you gotta leave it. You got to leave it at the door. It's kind of like on Neon. Like you can do drugs all you want,
but only here.
Leave them here.
Right.
It's a reverse Neon.
That's what I was thinking.
It's like an additive Neon.
Because depending on how big it is, you can't take it on your ship. Unless I'm guessing you have like a C-class ship, or otherwise you're going to build a base on each place you want to deploy it so you can make a new one.
I would imagine that a full-size mech isn't going to fit on a ship that you can build. I mean, it's almost the size of a ship. Like it's.
Well, that's also part of the reason why I was saying a personal mech, maybe 15 to 20 feet tall, because like in theory you should be able to have a mech. Like, well, what was that? A mech bay, I suppose. So when you land, it's like let's say the most bottom part. So instead of so it replaces the cargo hold.
Landing gear.
Oh, that's cool. So it like disconnects off and then like transforms into its full shape or something?
No. What I'm saying.
That would be cool.
Tom, you're just too inspired by Turbo Toboggan's icon.
That would be great. Like if it's like the part of the ship and the ship lands and then that part disconnects and then goes and then stands up.
Yeah, I mean, well, like what I was thinking more of was like a garage, honestly, that's attached to your ship.
Mm-hmm. And makes like a smaller mech inside the garage.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, a personal mech where it's like 15 feet tall at most. So so you land and it just walks out the side of your ship too, because that just make the most sense, because we don't want something that is a battle mech. This is in like an explorers or in Dave Chafin's case, a pirate mech. And so you have to be able to, it has to be mobile. You can't leave it on a planet because you're not going to fight an entire war or campaign there. You have to take it with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've gone down this rabbit hole now, and I'm thinking about we talk about mechs detaching, but what if? And in my head, I'm like, okay, so what if Transformers and your ships just like mold into different mechs, and then that makes me think. That brings up a good point, and that makes me think they've outlawed mechs, but aren't ships just more dangerous mechs that can move infinitely fast and have,
they are
massive weapons on them?
Yes,
they can teleport.
They can kind of teleport. I mean, I guess that's what grav drives do, is kind of almost the equivalent of teleporting because of how fast they move. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine if you're going to incorporate mechs into this game, you've got to rethink a lot of other things. But to take that and put it in a little caged area that's like only this simulation of the past and only in this part of a map that we give you, and the mechs work there. You don't have to worry about any of the other questions about integrating it into the rest of the game. It's just something that you can go visit and do in this one place. I'm looking forward, knowing now how the community responds to things like this, like Fallout 76 adding, like, what's it called, where you go off to the other places? Expedition. I was going to say excavation, but that's not the right word. Expeditions. People hated that because they were like, just expand the map. I just want to go see new places and be able to play the regular game in a new place. I don't want to have a little section that's just cordoned off and you have to only do certain things in this little section. So I would imagine that won't go over super well with some of the audience, even if it is really cool to actually experience and do. it's almost like a catch-22. Like, how do you give them that experience and then say, but the mechs have to stay there without completely updating like large portions of the game to make mechs work? Maybe they've solved it. Maybe they've planned for this. Maybe this is something that is less complicated than I think it is. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, I'm thinking about Shivering Isles. Like, you had like certain powers in the Shivering Isles when you played Oblivion. It's like, oh, okay, now I can like, I don't know, make like spoons turn into mice that dance and
right, whatever
and
those crazy powers
like,
were. Yeah,
you had like a million crazy powers, but it was like, yeah, it only works here because this is your realm, because you're Sheogorath. That's a whole different lore of like, I really don't understand the difference between the two. But that was kind of like sectioned off into that area. So I'm wondering if that would be a good example for something they might do.
Yeah,
I'm just being wishful and because I really want to drive a mech around. Like,
I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to want. I'm just curious about how they would make it work.
Man. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Right.
Yeah, but just at a minimum, though, I would at least enjoy to see a representation of the Second Colony War, because I would really like to see a Terramorph like duking it out with a guy in a mech suit.
Yeah, it would be cool. It would be cool to see for sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think this is a really cool one to start off with. Let's move to Turbo. Turbo, what do you want in the next year of this game? What do you want to add or change?
A little bit small thing. At least I think that in my view, smaller than practically a giant fucking mech.
That's fine. Okay, so what's like sometimes the small things are just as important, right?
Because as I've been playing through the game, mine are mostly like, I'm guessing life, not what's the term?
Quality of life type stuff.
Thank you very much. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I'm playing, my background is my brain's not working tonight. The serpent cult in the game. What's it called again?
House Varun.
Varun.
Yeah. House Varun. Yeah.
Yeah. I picked that as my one of your three choices in the beginning. I picked that. And there's sometimes when Varoons are coming up, and I'm like, I wish like your background choices had more dialogue options. Mm-hmm. I don't know that kind of be. I don't going back and reholding the game, so I don't know how much they're going to do it. But I would like to when you pick some of those. I have not played the other ones and stuff, but I wish because I'm talking to what's her name? The companion, one of the main four.
Andreja,
thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to her, and she's talking to me about House Varun. I wish I could,
connect with her more over common background stuff. Is that what you're like? You had more dialogue that shares that.
Like where you're coming from being from House Varun.
Yeah.
Or I've run into one other mob character once that said Varun, their ship landed, and I'm like I wish I could talk to them and stuff.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying. Like you want your background and who your character is, and maybe even your decisions and things like that to have more actual impact on the world and the other people you talk to and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common
I'm about to do
complaint.
The Varun embassy mission, the one for the Terramorphs. I wish I could say I'm House Varun. They're not going to attack me as soon as I walk on the ship. I don't have to sneak in there and stuff. I'm actually that's my embassy. I can go in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the things that a lot of people have talked about and complained about is that the impact of your decisions is kind of negligible. They want you to be able to do every quest. Oftentimes you can make decisions and then other people just don't seem to even respond to them. Your life background only has minimal effect on dialogue options and things like that. I'm on the same page with you. I think that in order for this game to have the same kind of potential decade plus future of people coming back and playing it needs to feel more fleshed out like a real place. And I think that's one of the reasons why Skyrim is still so beloved and so played, is that it's not perfect with those things, but there's definitely that more of that feeling like you're in a real place. You put on a certain type of armor and try to walk into a town, and if they don't like who you look like you are. They respond to that. But that doesn't happen in Starfield.
You go in the orc things, they can they're a lot more receiving of you.
Right. Or if you wear Imperial armor in one of the holds that, you know, stays true to Skyrim and all of that, then they're like, oh, an Imperial, what are you doing here? You know, that kind of thing. Which is traditionally how a lot of their games have played. You know, Fallout 3 did very similar things, and Oblivion did very similar things. So yeah, I'm on the same page with you with that. Nova, what do you think about working more of that into the game?
I would really love that, because that is sure. I've surely missed that since Fallout 4, honestly. Because in New Vegas, you obviously had, you know, all these different factions. You had this background. You could choose who you wanted to be. If you went into New Vegas dressed as a member of the Legion, you were going to get spiked, and it wasn't a very good time for you. But if you dressed as in CR and then went anywhere across the Mojave, you were either being beloved or belittled, depending on what part of the map you're in.
Right.
And so it is a part that Bethesda honestly has overlooked, I think, in a lot of their games. And I wish to see more of that in Starfield, especially now with the background system. And just like Turbo Toboggan was saying, you could have a lot more insight into individual factions, or what is the big grift between these two different groups and other things like that, because it's an open world role-playing game, but the decisions I make apparently aren't as effective or effectual into the environment, and I'm annoyed by that, because it's a role-playing game. I want my role to be played as it's supposed to be. I chose a background, and it's not being received.
Yeah. Lord Chaplin says in chat, in New Vegas, you can completely disguise yourself as the enemy faction. Yeah. See, I agree with you on this. I want those things. I want my decisions to matter. I want to be able to go back and go, what if I do a playthrough where I pretend like I'm part of this faction? How does that work? And I don't mind the whole idea of like cutting out potential quest lines because you made a decision that isolates you from that. I understand Todd Howard wants everyone to be able to play all the quest lines, and I know they've gotten complaints in the past, you know, about how like, oh, I have to start a whole new playthrough in order to even see that part of the game. I get it. I think the solution to that is you
play the game again.
you either play the game again because they've given you a really clever way to keep playing the game over and over again, or it's an option. It by default, nothing gets cut out, but just like you could do survival mode or hardcore mode for certain types of games, you could choose my decisions. Like, there is no off limits. Every NPC is killable. I can totally mess up the game and make it unplayable or section off quests that I'll never get to do because I made certain decisions or I killed certain people. And I'm okay with this. I'm going to go into this playthrough knowing that is okay. And let me click that button. Let me click the little check mark in the option screen or whatever and make that possible, because that is a lot more fun in my perspective.
I think that would be
Tom.
Turbo.
Because Tom, I literally just got to the eye mission where one of your companions dies. Like that should be like, you can and stuff like that. Like, I just got my guy killed. Like I wouldn't mind it not being your two favorite characters.
Like, it plays out. Yeah, it plays out differently. Maybe. Sure.
Yeah, like have it so it can be like any of your characters could die. So like a person you have not talked to at all, you just lost their mission.
Sure. Yeah, I would love that. There were situations, and I definitely want to hear Dave's thoughts on this too, so I'll go to you in a second. But Turbo, you hit on one of the things that I really wanted to talk about in this episode was exactly this. There were situations in when I was first playing, like, for example, when you first meet some of the board members of the Freestar Collective, and like they're asking you to go do some terrible things. They're all in a room with you, and I was like, what happens if I just off them all right here? What if I just kill them all? And I tried, but you can't. can't kill them, and then the guards come and attack you, and then you run away. I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, I want a playthrough where I can kill these people, and then I want to totally. I don't expect to have access to any quest lines that would involve them moving forward, but I would like to be able to see, like, maybe in the news that, like, these people were murderer at large. You know, like, that would be amazing. But it's not an option, and you can't do it for most. I mean, even Ron Hope's quest, even the whole quest line that ends with Ron Hope and finding out all the terrible things he's doing. You have very specific things you can choose to do, but at no point can you just go, all right, shut up, cancel the conversation, and shoot him in the head. It just doesn't work like that. So I don't know. That's what I want. Dave, what do you think?
So I think that Bethesda has gotten the complaint of when you play Skyrim, it's like, oh, well, the Dragonborn is also the leader of the Thieves Guild, and he killed the Emperor, and he's the, leader of the Mages Guild, and he's the top werewolf, and he's like the chief vampire hunter / maybe greatest vampire. It's like
right.
They've gotten the complaint in the past that it's like, oh, my hero is the leader of the Sheogorath, but also the hero of blah blah blah. Like, there's so many. If you do all the faction quests, like, you get to the end of it, and then you're the owner of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, weirdly enough, I miss that. I think that's one of the things that Starfield doesn't do a great job of. Is,
well, it lets you go through all the quest lines, but you don't have that same feeling of, like, people recognizing you as the leader of each of these things.
When you get to the end of the Ryujin quest, I mean, spoiler alert, you're not the CEO of Ryujin, and then have this, like, network of Ryujin in your manufacturer. Like, there's no, like, you're not a character that can physically do that. So there's no real loyalty to him other than just, like, the role play of, oh, I did the Ryujin quest line, so I really align with him. I think that there is some, it's almost like we're just short of, like, coming upon that, like with the Freestar Rangers. Like, it's like, oh, you saved the day. Great job.
Yeah.
You can be a ranger now. It's like, well, okay, what does that even mean?
Right. Well, you get some quests out of a kiosk. Keep getting the quests out of the kiosk.
Now, it's like, man, I just, like, killed a bunch of aliens, wiped them all out, committed genocide on all these aliens, and then I did all this other stuff. And I'm just like, oh yeah, you're a citizen. And to me, for a game where one of the main mechanics is getting into that spoiler territory, is like the concept of rebirth and multiple selves and the multiverse of possibilities. I think that's a real miss, because I think if you're going into different new games, you're like, all right, this time around, you know what? I'm going to be king of the pirates. Monkey D. Luffy, like, let's get in there and let's go for it.
Yeah.
Or the next playthrough, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be, like, super duper corporate. I'm just gonna, like, there's no payoff for that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's part of the problem with the Varun stuff that kind of Turbo brought up of, like, oh, I wish I could role play into that more. It's like, yeah, I wish you could, like, I wish that there was, like, some additional benefit. Like, in the Thieves Guild, you get access, like, you can build up your Thieves Guild and you get different kinds of vendors in your little camp, and a lot of people come to you and they're like, okay, well, now I can be your follower. There's some benefits with all of that. And so I wish that there were more benefits of aligning yourself, and I think that would help with the role play, the your own character progression in the story.
Yes, especially since they have all the different, like, faction outfits and stuff. Like, you could wear an Eclipse outfit to get into the Eclipse, even if you choose not to be that side. Like, I've got Varun. I don't know if you guys got Varun, but I got Varun spacesuits. I don't know if people that don't have Varun background can get them, but if you can, even if you choose not to be Varun, but you could just wear their outfit to sneak in there to get to their quests and stuff if they want to do it that way.
Yeah, so I think the reason for this, whenever in my own life and in dealing with issues and looking at things, I always try to figure out, like, what is the reason? Why did it turn out the way it did? Was it intentional? Was it some sort of something they had to do because they were shooting for something else, but they didn't quite get there? Like, how did this work out? We know, and Dave, you and I did episodes about, like, some of the early inspirations for Starfield. A lot of those early space games You weren't anybody important. You didn't become the leader of one of the galactic empires or anything like that. You lived your life as a dude with a ship, and you went around and you did stuff. You explored, you went on quests, you amassed wealth, you did whatever, right? But you never really became the leader of a faction or anything like that in those old space games. I have a feeling that was what they were shooting for, and there are remnants of some of the mechanics that they took out of the game, like needing to refuel your ship, repair mechanics, like a lot of the detailed stuff that would have turned away a lot of the more casual gamers, they removed from this game. You can see that they were definitely going in that direction. And even in interviews, Todd has talked about how they needed time to find the fun in the game. So they got rid of a lot of that extraneous stuff. But I think that led to sculpting the quests and the story in a way where you weren't becoming the leader of a faction, or it was going in a very different direction from Starfield, or from Skyrim or Fallout in Starfield. And I think that's probably some of the reason why that ended up the way it did. But we end up in this weird middle place where it's like, okay, we can still do all the quests, but we're not becoming the leaders of factions. We're not getting these like mega rewards from it. But at the same time, the world still just doesn't respond to our choices in a very free and satisfying way in the long run. Like it's the sort of thing where you can play 40 hours, and 40 hours in you go, oh, that quest line was really cool. I like this one better than the other one. Oh, I went and saw some really cool things. Some really cool stuff happened. I got some cool weapons. I got some cool gear. I discovered some really cool planets, and you did lots of cool stuff. But the question becomes, how do you get to that 500 hours? How do you get to 1,000 hours and to still have a game that people really, really dig? And I think the requirement for that is that the world just needs to respond more to your decisions and allow you to feel like it's a place that you can live in. And on that note, Commander Marcus Shepard was able to join us, jumping into the chat. Welcome. How's it going?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to make last minute.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to continue just a little bit what you were just talking about. Trying to get that longevity, that high replayability. And there's something that I think is kind of pocket, like super under the radar, super not. I mean, it is recognized by some of the Starfield fans. Specifically, I would say like the specific subreddits that target more
the salt-free ones, the low sodium ones, or the high sodium ones?
Oh, the I would say lower sodium. They're the more of the creative groups. Like it's the Starship Builder, like Starship Design subreddit, the Outpost planning. Look, like one of the biggest appeals that I have that I keep getting sucked into. I just can't find myself not getting sucked into it. Is the industrialization part of the Outpost building. Mm-hmm. Specific games like Satisfactory, Factorio, like there's a ton of those really cool simulation and like city builder, management sort of games that kind of is in Starfield at like a low key level. Yeah. So the Outpost building, I feel like has gone in a slightly different direction than it has, at least with the Fallout Outpost building. The Outpost building in that was just kind of, I got a settlement. There's some people kind of, doing some things. I think whenever they added the I can't remember the name of the DLC.
The robot one.
The Mechanist. Yeah, the Mechanist.
Omicron.
Yeah. They added the little more of the industrials to that whenever you could start making like ammunition and stuff for your settlement. But like Starfield obviously makes it to a much different, higher level because like you're actually farming for resources that you can potentially utilize in your world. So one of the things that I hope to see that they add more to in 2024 is they actually double down and recognize that there is a lot of potential to their Outpost building with this and make it to where, I don't know, there's like a big overhaul to the crafting system or something along the lines that makes it to where your outpost isn't just a little hideout. It's more of an actual outpost where like you become like your miniature own capitalists and start like your own little organization and just keep building on onto that. I think that would be a really cool addition that has a lot of longevity, because those sort of games, those industrial management games, they do have a lot of replayability, at least in my opinion.
So do you imagine it becoming kind of like a real settlement? Like all of a sudden you are building your own city eventually? Like it keeps expanding out?
You have that potential. You could go more in that direction where you are looking to like get settlers to come live at your place, or like I said, you could take it the more industrial route where you make it just a huge autonomous industrial refinement, or maybe build something towards making your own like starship builder or something along those lines. I think would be a cool if or sort of thing.
Okay. I got you. Dave, do you have any questions about that?
That's like what I would add would be kind of an expanded system for that. I think that there is a need to almost have that space sim aspect in there. And I think, using more stuff in your settlements, making that easier to access. Like, is there a better way to do tutorials for that, or to have some sort of goal or completion? Because right now it's just like, oh, you're getting the resources for it, but there's no like story involved with teaching you those mechanics of how to do it. Like, how we use powers in the Unity, or how we use, like a lot of the like manipulation, like the religion quest line is like a great, like, okay, here's how you do stealth, and here's how you do a lot of like persuasion, coercion, that kind of stuff, almost like a spy thriller. I feel like that there's a need for something like that, but relation to not settlement building, but I guess it is a settlement, at least from that perspective, because I feel like that there's not enough carrots in the stick for it. Like the carrots and the stick is like, oh, I got like 5,000 aluminum now, and I can craft all this different stuff, and I can craft this and I can craft that. But like, there's no like set, there's no set rewards, I think, for a lot of this stuff. That it's just like, oh, I'm increasing in power a little bit here and there, but without the perks to do X or Y, then I can't do that. And so like, right. I think that there needs to be some sort of overhaul to settlements, including space stations would be great. But
I guess my question is like,
Marcus,
what's the end game? And this tacks on like directly to what you're saying, like, and you're kind of saying the same thing. Like, what's the end game of those systems? Mm-hmm. Like, it's nice to be able to make things. Lots of people make things in Bethesda games where you have crafting, and you also have your Fallout 76 with your, it's not a settlement, it's your camp, right? And lots of people use that to be creative and show off the things they've collected, or make a really cool, unique looking building or something like that. But in Starfield, it doesn't feel like that's the goal. It feels more like there should be some sort of goal, kind of like Commander Shepard is saying, like, why not have a goal to have a totally automated industrial complex that allows you to be able to build things that you couldn't without it, or something like that. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on that stuff, so, but I can see how that's appealing to a certain audience that really wants that, being able to pull together resources from multiple different planets or systems in a way that gives you the ability to make things otherwise that you couldn't. And it takes a while to be able to do that and create manufacturing and refining across multiple systems in order to have, like, what if you wanted like a gold-plated freaking spaceship, but you needed to be able to build the technology to make that, right? And so it's going to take you a while to do it. Is that kind of where you're thinking? Like, what do you think, Commander Shepard? Like, where do you think the end game is with something like that?
I think you're hitting it on the nose. Definitely. I think that is a question that every one of those like simulation games kind of has. You never know where the end game is. A lot of those games are actually still kind of like early access games, because they're I don't know. I think the ultimate appeal to those is kind of like the engineer's dream, where they're constantly trying to improve. It's I think the term is Japanese is Kaizen. It's continuous improvement, trying to always be more refined, always be more ergonomic, be more effective, efficient, trying to always just improve the overall process. When does that end? I don't know. I think that's the usual appeal, is that you never know when it's going to end. You can just keep going and going and going, especially like the game Satisfactory. It's just a nonstop process of you get more research levels, you slightly get better technology, you make those implements to your industrial thing, and like it's just a continuous process. Obviously, Starfield being a game that has other focuses, it won't necessarily be able to keep up with that because it's a very highly complex system. Yeah. But I do think that because they've touched on it, and because of the way they have at least like the starship mechanics, the modular building and settlement sort of systems, I do believe they have a lot of the necessary foundation to keep going with that. They don't necessarily have to reach the same level as those industrial sim games, but I do believe that an expansion on that would be appealing to a certain audience. Yeah. Not necessarily everybody, but it is also an opportunity to do kind of like what Dave was saying. The Outpost side didn't really have a very good tutorial. Like there was not a very good walkthrough for it. I think with the expansion, they could potentially include something like that and update that into the game. Yeah, so. I totally agree. And I think that's a very reasonable thing. It's never going to compete, and it shouldn't, with a game that's the sole thing the game does. But to be able to pull more into that, and then also teach people a little bit better about how to use it, what you actually do, makes a lot of sense. But tell you what, we're actually close to the end of the show. We started a little bit late. We got to go thank our patrons. We're going to come back. We'll discuss a few more things. So don't go anywhere. All right, we've got more fun things to talk about, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Thank you so much for our patrons. Thank you for being here and supporting us. If you are interested in supporting the show and taking a look at all the different things you can get, like ad-free episodes, t-shirts, and stickers, joining us on future chats like this, head over to patreon.com/StarfieldLorecast. And we have to shout out Commander Marcus Shepard and Worst Action Hero, our Space Lords, who get shout outs every week. Thank you for your support. And we got a new review that came in. This one is from Chief 4150 from the US, who writes, great lore. Started Starfield a few weeks ago and loved the lore of it. These guys do such a great job of sharing the background and lore of the world and focus of the factions, enemies, and missions. I want more information. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much, Chief. If you'd like to help us out, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it out on a future episode of the show. You can rate us on Spotify, and you can do lots of other things on different platforms. Just check it out. See if there's a way that you can just leave a comment or something like that. We would really appreciate it. All right, that's going to do it for the mid-break. We've got to talk about more stuff, so here we go. All right, we started about 15 minutes late. I don't want to keep anyone longer, so if you need to leave, let me know. But we can keep going because I would love to. We've got a wonderful group of people in chat tonight with all sorts of ideas. I want to pitch some of these ideas to you all, and I want to get your real quick elevator pitch responses. That's not even a thing, but here, Astral Dino, first time in chat, says, I'd like to be able to assign companions to your space or to your spare spaceships and either send them on missions or fly them around in the fleet. And also, just a reminder before we dive into this one, if you're in chat, you want to leave a thing in the chat, we'll try to get to it if we have a chance. What do you all think about that? Sending off other spaceships to go do missions and come back.
So are we thinking like the thing like an Assassin's Creed Black Flag where you have them like doing I
think you're disappearing, Turbo. Are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm trying to say the word and I'm stuttering.
Like these commercial
commerce. Is that the right word?
Yeah, commerce. Like you send them off to go buy and sell things, or to go mine things for you and bring them back, or like
take like aluminum from this thing and go deliver it to like Stratos, and because there's some missions like that where you have to get like 1,000 aluminum.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just like have them take that ship, make sure there's a lot of cargo space on it. It's like, hey, go take it up from my plant that makes aluminum, and you go deliver it for me, so I don't have to go waste time doing it, and you just keep doing that and make me money.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that you could...
Or transport workers?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Or take on what if you took on one of the Freestar quests and they're like, oh, this little colony over here needs somebody to come in and kill the spacers or whatever. So you're like, all right, you two get on that ship and go do it. And then they head off and they do it. And then maybe there's a % chance, depending on the equipment and the stuff you give them, that they succeed and they come back and you get a cut of the profits. Or they get in trouble and then you get this like notification somehow of like, holy crap, we need you to bail us out. We're in danger. And then you fly over there and then you blow some dudes up, save your crew, your extra spaceship, and then get out of there. Like, that seems cool. That seems like another one of those like ways to live in the world a little bit more.
And it would use their skills too, because some of them have skills like their skills when you have assignment, like I could actually use them too then for once.
Yeah. Like what if it's it's a commerce mission, so you want somebody with those skills, or it's like a subterfuge kind of mission, so you need somebody who can sneak and fight, or what if you need to convince somebody of something and you just send them off and see if they can go do it. And sure, you wouldn't want it to be like open-ended, like they could go off and do anything, but very specific kinds of missions that you could send them on. That sounds really cool. Dave, what do you think?
I mean, that sounds good to me. I like it.
Okay.
I like the idea of having a number of different companions that you can use to kind of send off. I'm trying to think of a game. There was a game that I played recently that was like that, where you're kind of like filling people into roles. I don't know. I like the system from the old Assassin's Creed where you had like the group of assassins that you were like, all right, you got to go to Germany and you got to go kill a guy.
Yeah.
And you come back, you bring me 200 gold and a piece of wood, and I'll really like that.
Right. 3 days later, they return. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was the guild system in Revelations, I believe is what you're referring to. I personally enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've done it in MMOs. Like World of Warcraft had a system where you would send certain characters off and they had to do things and then they'd come back. Yeah, I could totally see that. All right, let's move on. Any other?
I'm gonna pop off for the evening. Sorry, guys.
All right, see you, Dave. Thanks for being here.
Dave.
Bye. Any other comments? Feel free. Oh, I gotta adjust the screen again. I messed up the screen when we got a fifth person.
Dave ruined everything.
Dave ruined it all.
We could talk bad about him now that he's gone.
That's fine. So yeah, I'm not seeing any other thoughts in chat for things. Lots of responses to some of the ideas that we came up with already.
I have a little thought.
Yeah.
I wish they would give you a preview for when you're making your ship, like you could see the layout inside of it. I know we were talking about ships and building stuff. I know it's a little petty thing, but I just want to put this out into the universe. Maybe they listen to this podcast. And the list, like, actually, not like I'm not saying that you're not a big podcast. I meant like they actually listen to us and take our advice. You're like, you know what? He said this. We're gonna do it now.
Yeah. No, I think that would be cool too. I've always wondered, like, okay, if I put this module here, what's the inside going to look like? Well, I don't know until I do it. Like I said, have to do it and go check it out.
And then waste money, or it's not wasting time because I like building, but it's like the loading screens waste time.
I mean, it's definitely a series of wasting time because also there's the huge issue with the how the stairs and how the doors and stuff spawn inside of your ship, because the system that's in place makes it to where there's supposed to be one singular path that just draws a line between all of the modules on your ship. As long as it connects to every room, then it's achieved its goal. But there's obviously going to be points on your ship where you want to have multiple doors or multiple accesses to, but it's not going to do that. It pretty much prevents a loop from ever forming. You can never have a circle within your ship of modules. So they're definitely everybody in the starship side of Starfield has definitely run into that problem, and it would definitely be a huge improvement to change that ASAP. So.
Yeah, I can see improvements with that stuff. We've talked about it before on the show. Labels of systems and locations on those systems or planets. So like some sort of like break apart part of the map, like on the side. I would imagine, say, a way to pull up a list of systems and then go to that system and then see a list of planets in that system and then click on a planet and then see what kinds of locations or cities are on that planet. Also a way to search for certain places. So like, I want to go to Neon. I don't need to remember in my head, oh, Neon is on this planet in this system. I just put Neon in the search thing and it goes, boop, it pops up and I go, target, go.
It feels like the current system that they have was they just pulled straight out of Fallout. It's like, yep, it's sort of great for Fallout, so we're going to do it again here too. But it's such a quite literally galactically large scale that it doesn't work quite as well because you don't have an infinite list of memory, or you don't have an infinite memory to list everything in your head.
Right.
And so I feel like that would be a very good idea. It's like GPS coordinates, and then you already have, just like in GPS, you have your favorited over here, which you can already immediately click on.
Yeah,
that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, sometimes I go places and I'm like, oh, I want to go back to that planet I was at, and I was like, what planet was that? I don't even remember. Like,
what planet has just type into Google?
Right, like there's got to be a way. Like, it would be nice even just to be able to say, like, okay, bookmark this planet to come back later, so I can just like fast travel point in the future, come back, or specifically the place where I landed. I want to make sure I can land in that same exact spot. It's really hard to do that. It's almost like you have to build settlement there to know that you can come back to that spot. So that whole system. Lore Chaplin in chat says, how could dynamic events be implemented or expanded, such as space anomalies? I would love expanded amount of just like other stuff that goes on randomly, dynamically, as you know, especially on planets. Like the space stuff is cool, but give me more weird stuff that happens on planets, like
random encounters
coming across boss monsters, places like you go into a cave and most of the time there's really not a whole lot going on in that cave. Like why can't I stumble across like a mama bear that's protecting the cave? Like that would be great. Or what if I land in a location and 10 minutes later a hurricane blows over me and like, holy crap, the weather's getting really dangerous. Things like that make everything feel a little bit more real and lived in and kind of more real are on my list. Well, we got to wrap up the episode, guys. Any other last minute thoughts? Any other quick ones?
I do have one, just one really quick one.
Sure.
I would love just to have some sort of, I don't know. I would like a cinematic of some sort or something along those lines of just getting a little bit more of what Earth looked like before everything bad happened to it. Like everything seems to kind of, it's the pinnacle of how Starfield's timeline just diverges into its own. But like, obviously it's an extreme funnel because Earth was this huge, like it was very scientifically advanced to the extent where they were getting the interstellar travel like set up. But like, I don't know. I did like the missions that we got. I just feel like there could have been a whole lot more.
Hey, Marcus, here's a pro tip. Yeah. You have a window right outside. You can look out there and see what Earth's like right now.
No, but like 100 years from now, before it went to hell. Yeah. I would imagine it looks kind of similar, but they had advanced tech and it would have been different, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
It would be cool to know a little bit more about that, or have another flashback kind of situation. Like you were talking about, like going and like seeing what the war was like. Might not go and or have the technology to just be like, okay, this is what I remember about Earth. Here you go.
At the very least, that you could just go walk into a movie theater and like they would play like a 300-year-old movie or something like that, and you go, oh, that's what Seattle was like. That's cool.
Yeah, that could be cool. All right, well, thank you for joining me, everybody in chat. Thank you for being here. Let's go back through and feel free to shout out anything you got going on that you want to share with everyone else, or just say thanks for being here. I'm going to go through an order on the screen. Turbo, thanks for joining us again. Anything you want to share before you head out?
Nope, nothing.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for being here, buddy. And then Nova, I know you got stuff.
Yes, I do. I have a YouTube channel that is Supernova, capital S, and then capital N, 0, capital V, capital A. Look for the golden retriever icon. I mostly do Fallout content, but eventually sometime probably within the next decade, I will also be covering Starfield content. I haven't posted in over a month because I've been extremely busy in real life, but be sure I have some stuff on the pipeline on the way. So
awesome. Well, good luck. Good luck with that. Go check out Nova's channel.
I'm also on the Discord, so if you want to contact me there, feel free to send me a message.
Awesome. And Commander Marcus Shepard, thanks for being able to pop in.
Thank you for having me last minute. Sorry for being so last minute. I didn't realize that today was Tuesday, so I'm still kind of recovering from New Year's. But yeah, I don't have anything going on, nothing here, just in and out on the Discord. So that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you made it. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Here's to 2024 and another year of content. And Dave's got Rad Rolls. You go check out Rad Rolls. They're doing Starfield stuff. They're doing Fallout stuff. It's a very funny show. You should go check it out. Also, I do lots of other lore casts about Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Mass Effect and The Lord of the Rings. And you can check out all of those on whatever podcast you're listening to this on, or head over to robotsradio.net for links to all the different shows on the network, including stuff I'm not doing, that other hosts are doing. Thanks for being here again. We'll see you next week. Stay safe out there. Bye, everybody.
Listening to the podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this show.
Did you know that parodies are copyright protected?
Tell a friend and review
on iTunes
or other services. Dave and Tom excited for Starfield. Let's all speculate and wear no shoes.
Hey, why aren't we wearing any shoes?
Because shoes rhymes with iTunes, and that's the best I could think of.